Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Luis Almonte, and I serve as one of the Associate Directors of College Counseling at the Berkeley Carroll School. I will be serving as the moderator for this program tonight and the moderator for this panel. I'm delighted to welcome you to tonight's Education Beyond Our Borders virtual panel. On behalf of the Berkeley Carroll School, the Brooklyn Friends School, Packer Collegiate Institute, and St. Anne's School, we want to say thank you for joining us this evening. We're especially pleased to be joined by students and family from all four of our communities from ninth grade and beyond, everywhere from ninth to 12th grade. So we're really excited to be able to host this program for all of you tonight, for all of you to learn about international universities and international admissions. A special thank you goes to our distinguished panelists from Bard Berlin, Concordia University, Goldsmiths University London, the University of British Columbia, the University College Dublin, and the University of St. Andrews. We're incredibly grateful for your time and your willingness to join us tonight to share your expertise and experience with us. This evening's program is designed to provide valuable insights into the process of applying and attending college abroad. Whether you're just beginning to explore international options or if you're deep into the college search process, we hope this panel will broaden your understanding and spark new ideas about what it means to pursue higher education internationally. Our agenda tonight includes introductions from each of our panelists. Afterwards, each of them will do an overview of their respective institutions, followed by a question and answer session where you'll have the opportunity to engage directly with our panelists. The way the program will work is I will start off asking the first couple of questions, and then we invite all of you to use the Q&A portion of the webinar feature in Zoom to ask your questions as well as too. You're more than welcome to ask anything that you'd like, but the most effective questions are questions that would be applicable for everyone in the audience to be able to learn about. So we encourage you to think of really good questions that might fit that category. Together, we'll explore the wide range of opportunities available to international students in Canada, Germany, Ireland, and the UK. And you'll learn how to prepare your applications, understand the difference between applying to school in the United States as well as abroad, the difference in terms of financial aid and financial assistance in the US versus abroad. And then we'll also talk about the role of a foundation year and discovering different ways to strengthen your application to international universities. So we'll get started, but some panel introductions. So if we could start by having Bard Berlin introduce who you are and your institution.
Great, thank you, Luis, and thank you everyone for coming tonight. My name is Jude, and I'm an admissions counselor for Bard College Berlin based in Chicago, but I'm also an alum of Bard College Berlin. So I graduated in 2020 from our humanities degree track. And then, Luis, sorry if I misunderstood, but am I also doing the presentation now, or is
We'll
everyone?
do, we'll do general introductions first, and then we'll circle back for presentations.
Okay, great. So that's who I am. Yeah.
Awesome. Next, Steffi.
Hi, everyone. Happy to see all of you here today. So I'm Steffi Brazil. I'm at Concordia University up in Montreal. I'm based here as well. Beautiful city. We're all very happy for the spring. So happy to share a little bit more about the university today.
Awesome. Will.
Hey there, I'm Will. I'm the regional manager for North America at Goldsmiths University of London. I'm based right here in Brooklyn, New York, so hyper local for you. And thanks for coming tonight and joining us.
Perfect. And next, Tomoka.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tomoka Mono. I'm the Associate International Student Recruiter and Advisor for the University of British Columbia. I am based in Rochester, New York, and I take care of students across the East Coast. And I'm happy to share more about our university and to answer your questions today.
Thank you very much. Sarah, you're up.
Hey everyone, my name is Sarah Keniston. I work for University College Dublin as an admissions officer, and I am based here in Boston, Massachusetts, but I cover all of the East Coast and almost all of New York. So yeah, I'm here to talk about UCD and answer any questions you have. Thanks for coming.
And finally, John.
All right, thank you, Louise. My name's John Wells. I am the regional manager, or one of two regional managers for the U.S. for the University of St. Andrews, based out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and covering the East Coast for St. Andrews.
Awesome. So next we'll have each of the schools do about a 5-minute overview for their respective institution, and we're going to start with Bard Berlin.
Great, thank you, Louise. I might just share some visuals. So hopefully I'm not most technically adept, but hopefully that can people see?
Looks-
Yeah. Great, thank you. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Jude, and as I already mentioned, I'm an admissions counselor for Bard College Berlin and an alum of the college, graduating in 2020. Very excited to share about BCB today. So just to give a brief overview, Bard College Berlin is based in Berlin, Germany. We are a sister campus, so to speak, of Bard College in Annandale-on-Hudson in upstate New York, which you may already be familiar with. But we are our own separate institution. We're a small liberal arts school in the German capital. And we offer both US American accredited degrees, but also German accredited degrees. So just off the bat, I will mention that we take the Common App. So that's applying to BCB is not quite as complicated, but I just want to say that right off the bat. So as I mentioned, we're quite a small institution. So as of fall 2024, we had about 318 students. That number now is looking more to be about 350. But we're very international. So we represent over 60 nationalities, and over 45 languages are spoken on our campus. And around 4/5 of our students receive some form of financial aid. US American students submit their own financial aid application via our BCB-based application, but they also submit a FAFSA. So that's another just logistical detail I'll get out of the way. So as I mentioned, we're a small liberal arts college, so we sort of pride ourselves on a pedagogical model based in small seminar-style classes. So this means that most classes have typically 7 to 12 students in them and are very much based in kind of class discussion, student initiative in the classroom, and kind of a Socratic dialogue method of teaching. We offer right now 3 primary degree tracks, which are listed here. These are economics, politics, and social thought, humanities, the arts and social thought, and artistic practice and society, which is a relatively new degree. So to give a brief overview, the EPST program, you focus on either economics or politics, but take courses in both disciplines. In the humanities track, you can specialize in philosophy, literature, art history, and also a little bit of art practice. And then in the APS program, you can specialize in a variety of mediums of artistic practice. And then in addition to those specializations, we have what we call the core curriculum. So this is a 6-semester sequence of sort of like a great books curriculum. So basically, students are exposed to a wide range of classic texts in the history of primarily Western thought. So beginning with Plato's Republic and its interlocutors, so a seminar in ancient Greek philosophy, and ending with when in my day we read James Joyce's Ulysses. I believe they've changed the curriculum now, but ending with the global modernisms course. So it's sort of like a intellectual survey or survey of intellectual history of the West that all students take regardless of degree track. So this is just an image of students in our new glass blowing facility. This is just sort of like a basic degree chart. So this is what like 8 semesters could look like for an artistic practice and society student, for instance. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go into details, but I thought it would be helpful just to have this little visual. And then I would just go over a little bit of our resources outside of the classroom. So we do offer German intensives in the off season in January and also sometimes in the summer, in addition to normal German instruction during the semester. So just to reiterate, students don't need to know any German prior to arriving at BCB. It's fully instructed in English. Berlin also factors hugely into the curricular experience of BCB. Students take internships in the city, especially through our internship program. They find work in the city part-time as a student or also full-time after being a student. And generally, the city offers a wide range of cultural opportunities for our students. So as I mentioned, the internship program. This is an image of one of our newer dorms. All dorms on campus, so students live on campus for the first 2 years of their studies in apartment style housing, and I can talk more about that in the Q&A. Here's some images. And then I'm basically at time, so here's just a little graphic of what our students do after graduation. Thank you very much. Whoops. Trying to stop share here. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Concordia University.
Hello. Can you hear me now? I would think I was muted. All right, everyone. So I'm here to talk about Concordia University, located in the heart of Montreal. We are celebrating our 50th year anniversary, so that's pretty exciting for us this year. We are a pretty large institution. We're around 36,000 undergraduate students. That being said, we have a lot of big university opportunities, but we still really value that tight-knit community feel and try to give students that experience through kind of smaller class sizes, small labs. Also, we are divided over 2 campuses, which I'll show those photos in a second. So that'll really help. That helps kind of, make the class size a little bit smaller, not feel so overwhelming. But we do offer over 100 different degree programs that can be from engineering and computer science to our strong business faculty, our amazing fine arts programs, which is not just studio arts, but also design, computation arts, and theater, music, dance, and all of that. And we also have really strong social sciences and humanities. Of course, the big sciences and other things like environmental sciences. Am I missing anything? I think I got them all. So yes, we have many programs to choose from. What I will say, the common thread among all of them is that they all have this real world experiential learning opportunity. So that's something we really value at Concordia. We look for students who are wanting to get engaged beyond just the classroom, that are wanting to get involved with paid internships through co-op or to participate in the research opportunities that we have. We have over 150 study abroad partners that a lot of students get to exchange with. So there's a lot of different ways that students can connect beyond the classroom. Also student associations and community engagement that we have. That's really what the kind of student that we're looking for. We are in Quebec, which is the French province of Canada. That being said, this is an English-speaking institution, so your classes will be in English. Of course, it's an amazing opportunity to learn French, practice French. We do offer classes at Concordia or conversation groups or free tutoring, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. A part of being at Concordia is also being in Montreal. And of course, while our campus is in the heart of Montreal, you will get to be connected to much of the community. I'm just trying to get. So I just want to show this picture highlighting the beautiful city of Montreal, really culturally diverse, really vibrant, world-class city. There's a lot of events and cultural festivals. It's a really exciting city to be a student in, really a lot of universities and colleges. So definitely a highlight to getting to live in Montreal and get to go to Concordia. So definitely part of the experience, very accessible city. We have a good metro system, very bikeable. As I mentioned, we do have 2 campuses. So I just want to highlight that one of our campuses is really, centrally located downtown, very, very urban, connected to a lot of the stores and restaurants and apartments. And then our other campus, Loyola, is obviously a little bit more green and residential. Depending on what a student is studying, they might be at this Loyola campus if they're studying more of our sciences. So, chemistry, physics, biology, or psychology, communications, and journalism. Also, all of our athletics are out here. But the downtown campus would hold more of our business, engineering, computer science, the fine arts, as well as most of our social sciences are down here as well, and humanities. So that's just an overview, and hopefully you can come and visit us. We're not too far, and always happy to have you here. So let me stop this. All right.
Thank you so much, Steffi. Next, we have Goldsmith, University of London.
Hey, everyone. I'm Will again, and I am the regional manager for Goldsmiths. I'm not going to share anything. I'll just kind of chat for a little bit. But basically, Goldsmiths, I'll leave you with kind of three major points about the university. We're really well known for our academic reputation. We're among the top 1% of universities in the world for our academic reputation and prestige. We are about 9,000 students on a single site campus. You can kind of see behind me, we have a college green, but the minute you walk outside of our gates, you'll really be in the middle of Southeast London. I kind of liken Southeast London to more of the Brooklyn vibe of the city, more sort of edgy, cultural, lots going on in the art scene in our neighborhood. We have a very diverse campus. About 38% of our students come from outside the UK. We're the 69th most international university in the world. 56% of our students are global ethnic majority. We have a really large LGBTQ plus population on campus as well. We are also culture creators. So our alumni include Oscar, BAFTA, Tony, Grammy, Olivier, any kind of award you can think of. We probably have an alum who's won it. Just recently, one of our alums won the Producer of the Year at the Brit Awards, which are kind of the British Grammys, for producing Brat by Charlie XCX. And then we also have a recent alum who was just nominated for the Turner Prize, one of 4 finalists this year. Lastly, we really engage in tons of transdisciplinary research on campus. As a member of the University of London, we've been around for 135 years and really strive to complete research that changes the world and changes how society and culture think and react to the world. So we have about 50 research centers on campus, everything from our Turner Prize winning Center for Forensic Architecture, which explores a lot of different environmental and social injustices around the world through architecture. And also our brand new £12 million endowed Migrant Futures Institute, which will be exploring climate resettlement, refugee resettlement, and a lot of different ways that migration will change with our ever shifting future on this planet. Lastly, our application is pretty simple. You apply through UCAS, which you'll maybe hear more about later in the Q&A. It's the one-stop shop for applying to UK universities. Goldsmiths operates on a test flexible policy. So I know we have a kind of a range of qualifications in the room, some IB, some AP, some non-IB and AP. So it's obviously really helpful if you have an SAT or ACT score, but if you don't, we can work with you. I recommend emailing me and we can chat about your qualifications and how suited you are to our university and what programs might work for you. And I think that's about it. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Up next, we have University of British Columbia.
Hello, everyone. I will not be using any visuals, but I'm with the University of British Columbia. We do have 2 campuses for UBC. We're right across on the west coast of Canada, right above Washington State. So our 2 campuses, we have our Vancouver campus and our Okanagan campus. Our Okanagan campus is located in Kelowna, British Columbia, south central of BC. It is surrounded in a very beautiful area with a lot of the nature scenes of BC. Within Kelowna, it's a very young, vibrant community lifestyle. It's also one of the fastest growing cities in Canada right now, but it is still pretty suburban with about 250,000 people living across the greater Kelowna area. Our Okanagan campus is a mid-sized campus of about 10,500 undergraduate students, so more of a closer-knit community lifestyle in that way. Our Vancouver campus, on the other hand, is a large campus of about 49,000 undergraduate students. And so it will feel large at first, but you'll easily be able to find your community within different certain areas of activities and clubs and things like that. Our Vancouver area in itself is also beautiful. Across both campuses, you can really find anything from the sea to the sky and anything in between. So there's a lot of things you can do in the area as well. Vancouver is the 3rd largest city in Canada as well. So within that, there's also a lot of things you can be able to explore and also be able to be involved within the community as well. Our Vancouver area is also very diverse, with about 50% of the people living in Vancouver are coming from different parts of the world, and the other 50% are born and raised in Vancouver. So in that way, it's also a very diverse city too. Our university also has over 260 undergraduate majors across 43 degree programs. So there's a lot to choose from, but you'll just have to know what subject area you want to look into whenever you're applying to UBC. So you don't necessarily need to know the major, but as long as you know the subject area, that'll be helpful when it comes to the application process. We're pretty known for our film area as well as our engineering, the sciences, business. Within the majors, more so within psychology, environmental science, and a few other degrees within the arts program as well. We're also the most international university in North America, with closer to 20,000 international students coming from over 160 countries. And so you get more of that peer-to-peer learning style with other students from across the world. Within our campus lifestyle, we have a lot of organizations you can be involved in through clubs. We have over 400 clubs and organizations that you can be able to take part in, whether that's more within the research opportunities or more within the academic related areas. So if you're interested in kind of doing more of the pre-law or pre-med area, there's more specifics within the medical clubs, law clubs. There's also just more within your faculty program clubs as well. If you want to focus more outside and be involved outside of the academics, we also have more fun, niche, hobby-specific clubs and organizations within like the Outdoors Club or Ski and Board Club if you're looking into more of those areas. But we also have more of Pottery Club, or if you just want something even more niche than that, you can also be involved in the Ice Cream Club, where you are able to pretty much having a good excuse of just getting free ice cream and also being able to discover fun flavors within that as well. We also have a lot of resources available for students, both across our campus, but also within the city as well. So there's really, truly a lot of things you can take advantage of, whether you are looking for more of the mental health resources through health and wellness, or if you're looking for more academic accommodations or through LGBTQ+ resources. We do have a lot of availabilities to be able to utilize through there as well. Our application process is pretty straightforward. You'll just have to apply specifically within our which campus, as well as the degree program. Our application opens early in October, and our general deadline is January 15th. And you'll typically hear back on a rolling decision basis between February and April. I think I pretty much covered all about UBC, but I'm sure I'll be able to answer some other questions throughout, but you can also reach out to me directly as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tomoka. Next, we have University College Dublin.
Hey everyone. I don't think I'm going to use slides for now. Who knows, might change my mind. University College Dublin, we are located about 15 minutes south of the Dublin city center. So one of my favorite things about UCD is that we have a true, almost American style campus. As you can see behind me, this is what we call our lake. It's really a pond, but we call it a lake. We have our swans, our library, and all of that. So students are really on campus, building their community, joining clubs and societies. I'll get more into that in a little bit. We have about 31,000 students on campus. About 19,000 of those are undergrads. So as Tomoka kind of mentioned, definitely a larger student body. But what's really nice is that students have varying class sizes. So you might have a lecture with 150 to 200 students, but then accompanied to that, you'll have a small group or tutorial that has about 15 to 20 students maximum. So you kind of get a mix of the large classroom learning style and also the personalized one-to-one or small group to one as well. At UCD, we have 70 undergraduate programs in all different disciplines. We have clinical programs, so medicine and vet medicine. We have business. We're really strong in STEM, so engineering, science. We have architecture, arts and humanities, social sciences. You really can't go wrong in any of our programs. We also have 300,000 UCD alumni all over the world that have studied in all of our programs. So whatever you choose, you're in good hands. In terms of applications, it will vary for the program that you're choosing. So we'll get a little more into that, but I will come back to it. I know that Lucy mentioned a foundation year. UCD doesn't quite have a foundation year, but what we do have is something called the Liberal Arts and Sciences program. So rather than having to apply directly to your program, which you'll typically do overseas or at any other UCD program, this program allows you to take maybe architecture and business classes in your first year and then track on after that. And it's still a 4-year program. You're still fully accredited in the degree that you choose, but it just gives you that extra amount of time to choose what you want to study and kind of dip your toe in two different fields, which is really great. Kind of on a larger scale, we talk about why Dublin as a city. Dublin is known as the Silicon Valley of Europe, and Ireland is one of the youngest countries in Europe. So a third of the population is under 25. So in terms of resources as a student, but also work opportunities, you're really just in a flourishing field of opportunities, whether that's in the tech market or startup market, you really can't go wrong. UCD, kind of backtracking again a little bit, because we're in kind of suburban Dublin, you do kind of get that mix of city, but then also not rural at all, but just kind of drawn away from the city. So you can really have those two different aspects of your student experience. And then going back to the applications, we are not on UCAS because Ireland is not part of the UK. If you're applying in Northern Ireland, then you will apply through UCAS. But for us, you can apply on the Common App or we have a direct application. Either one is totally fine. We don't have preference over one or the other. What I will say is that we're not reading your essays unless you're applying to a clinical program where that is a little more of a holistic review. But otherwise, we're not reading your essays. We're not looking at your letters of rec. We're not looking at your extracurriculars. We are looking at any grades that you have. So if you've taken those AP or IB tests, if you've taken the SAT or ACT, and then your GPA, send us everything. Everybody on this call is at what we call a gold ranked school. So you also get points for being in a rigorous curriculum. We want to recognize that and the work that you've done throughout your high school. But send us everything. We are test positive. Not everyone believes me when I tell them that. Our system is set to neutralize a test if it doesn't help you. So if you take the SAT and you think this is not a representation of me as a student, I don't want to submit this, just send it anyway. It'll help you with your application. It'll help you with scholarships. And yeah, just send it anyway. I promise it won't hurt. We're also on rolling admissions. So our application on the Common App opens in early September. The date varies per year, usually around the 4th or the 5th. And then our direct application opens October 1st. So the earlier you apply, the earlier you'll get a decision and the better chance you'll have, as our courses will close based on capacity. So engineering, architecture, those, and computer science, those will close sooner than others. So if that's what you're interested in, make sure you apply. And accommodation, you're guaranteed your first year on campus in our residences as an international student. You get your own room, almost always your own bathroom, and then you'll have a full kitchen to cook your meals in. So definitely a really good setup, definitely a good place to be. And on-campus amenities, we have a swimming pool, we have 2 different gyms, actually I think now 3 different gyms. Our library is newly renovated. So many different things for students to enjoy. Clubs and societies, we have our surf club that I always love to talk about. We have a food society. International Student Society is the largest one on campus. So we really encourage that our students get involved. It's a really important part of student life. And I hope to see you at UCD in the fall, or in the next fall. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And finally, we have the University of St. Andrews.
All right, thank you, Lewis. So St. Andrews, sometimes I feel a little bit like which one of these is not like the others. Bard in Berlin, also very different. However, that's a US-based system. Scotland has a different higher ed system than the rest of Europe. I know that Sarah mentioned Ireland does have 4-year options. Scotland, all of the bachelor's degrees are 4 years. In your first 2 years, you will do multiple subject areas. So while you do apply to do a specific subject, international relations, biology, history, whatever you might like, you will take that and 2 additional subjects in your first 2 years. Any subject you take for year 1 and 2, you can make your degree for years 3 and 4. And about 40% of our students will actually earn a degree in something other than what they gained admission to study in the first place. So you apply for a subject, but there is some flexibility. The one group of students we can't easily accommodate, if you come to me and say, I'm not sure if I want to do physics or history, I'll be like, that's great. Stay in the US or find a US college abroad that teaches in a similar style. Generally, you're not going to be able to combine those kind of things within the European system. So if you're in the social sciences and humanities, you do not take any more courses in STEM fields. If you're a STEM student, you do not take any more courses in social sciences and humanities. A little bit of flexibility in some cross-faculty subjects like economics, psychology, management, a couple others, but generally that's the case. The other thing that makes St. Andrews quite unique, I think everybody else has presented about colleges, universities in big towns or in the suburbs of those towns. St. Andrews is a university of 10,000 people, 600 years old, in a town of only 20,000 people. So I'd never even used the term campus. We don't use it. We don't have a campus. We just have a town right on the North Sea, about an hour north of Edinburgh. About 8,000 undergraduate, 2,000 graduate students. Just about a third of our students are from Scotland, just over 20% from the rest of the UK, 45% international. I think actually we have the most US undergraduates of any UK university. About 25% of our undergraduates are from the US. We do take the Common App or UCAS. Like UCD, we do not preference either one. Generally, we are looking a lot more at your academic record. Co-curricular activities, extracurricular activities are relevant if they're related to what you want to study. But if you tutored elementary school kids in English and want to study physics, you should feel really proud of that, that you've done that, but it does not impact upon our decision to admit you. Our decision is based on kind of your academic record. To me, the most telling thing about St. Andrews, what makes us really, really unique is the student services and support. I think the statistic that is most revealing, 98% of our first year students come back for second year. And regularly in the UK, they have a national student survey. Our students have been recorded as being the most positive about their university experience in 14 out of the last 16 years. We think the other 2 years were a statistical error somehow. Academically, we're a little bit smaller, so we're not as comprehensive as some of the other universities that have presented. For example, we don't have engineering, we don't do education or journalism, we don't do a lot of applied things, but kind of call back to our 600 years of history and that classical education part. So that's St. Andrews.
Thank you so much. Next, we're going to transition into our Q&A portion of the evening. So if I could have all the representatives please turn on their cameras. And then we encourage all the audience members, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask generally to all of our panelists, you can use the Q&A feature to put your question in there. I'll get us started with the first couple of questions, and then hopefully we'll transition to all of the questions that you all have in the audience. So our first question is, and some of you have touched on this a bit, but just to kind of be very clear about the application you use and how applying to your institution might be different from the US. How does a student apply to your college or school? What are the requirements that are most important in your application process? And what are the key differences compared to applying to schools in the US?
I'm happy to start on this one. I know I mentioned it in my presentation, but unlike a lot of the schools on here, well, actually, like and unlike, we will give you exactly the grades you need. And I'll put that link in the chat in a minute. But truly, if you see the GPA, unweighted GPA, and you have that, if you have the SAT, ACT, and if you have the APs, if there's any required, then you should be good. Like I said in the presentation, clinical is a little bit different, but it's very, very transparent. And I know a lot of people will echo that as well.
Yeah, I'll jump on that too. I don't think I touched on it much in my little intro, but we are very transparent, pretty straightforward with our application process. Like many here, we are very grade-based. So that means we're really looking at your academic potential into our programs, typically looking at the last 2 years. So really mostly 11th and 12th grade for your overall averages and courses that might be necessary for math, or sciences. Our application is online on our Concordia website. It's pretty straightforward, really plug in your bio information, your schools, your program choices, and then you would upload your transcripts, your school profile. So what we're not really considering is the SATs or essays or letters of recommendations like others. There are some programs, however, where that might be necessary. So it's really important to check that. For example, communications program has a small essay that's required, or education, we have a little bit more of a form around being an educator. Also, of course, our fine arts programs, right? Your portfolio reviews or your auditions, those sorts of things would be supplemental to your application. But for the most part, we're really looking at your academics and your transcripts. If you do AP or honors courses, we are going to look at those. We'll weight those higher as well, but they're not a requirement.
So at Goldsmiths, I did mention we use UCAS. So both John at St. Andrews and myself would be using the UCAS. It's a quirky application, but I think a lot easier than US applications. The main difference is you're really gearing the entire application towards your subject and why you're looking to study the subject you've chosen and what your qualifications or experience is surrounding that subject. So as John kind of touched on a little bit during his talk. Goldsmiths is a big art school, so I would also like reiterate that we sort of would look at portfolio and auditions either virtually, or we also do come to the US and provide portfolio review and auditions for our theater program. So a lot of international schools will also come to the US. So it's important to kind of reach out to people like me to kind of learn about those opportunities to meet us. But yeah, that's it.
I may go just to kind of build on what Will said and provide the other half of the UK. Yes, we as well are looking at academic fit. Like UCD, I think like all of our schools here, I think Bard in Berlin, probably the outlier of the group, but we are much more transparent about what qualifications are required. It's really focused on, do we believe you can academically succeed? And is your academic interest a good fit for our academic offerings? UCAS is moving to a series of questions, moving away from their one personal statement around why are you choosing the subject or subjects you're applying for, and what kinds of activities have you done that align with that. On Common App, actually, we do not even require that you submit your Common App essay to us. And if you do submit it, we don't read it because it's not the material, it's not the information we are considering in the application process. We have supplemental statements, questions around why St. Andrews, why the academic program at St. Andrews, and what specific aspects of that program really interest you and why. So it's about looking closely at the academic program and that academic fit. That's the most important thing. We're AP, for schools that do not offer APs, we do not require AP exams be taken. But we would expect advanced level courses. So you're going to find UK universities are a bit different there overall. There's not one thing, but I think all of us are quite transparent about what's required.
For UBC, we are also pretty transparent. We are slightly different than a lot of the other Canadian universities, where although we do heavily look into your course grades, we also have a more of a holistic approach to our applications, where we do also ask for your supplemental essays. So most of our faculty degree programs will ask you to write a short essay. It's very short, like 150 words average, really just asking more about your experiences and whatever you're passionate about. And our explanation on how we evaluate your essay, your supplemental essay, will also be laid out on our website as well. So feel free to check that out to get more details on that. But our process evaluation for applications, we will focus on breadth, rigor, and relevancy as well. So depending on the program you're applying into, if you're also taking courses related to that, are you challenging yourself? We also are test optional. So if you submit your SAT or ACT, we will evaluate them. But if you don't, it won't count against you. We'll also accept AP exams as well, but that's not necessarily required, but it also depends on the school as well. So we'll also evaluate through your school profile as well.
Yeah, and just to round out the conversation. So as I said, we take Common App at BCB. We also have our own application form where you do not have to submit the Common App essay. But most of our US applicants do use the Common App because they will likely have already filled that out. I would say, so in that vein, we're very similar to a lot of US universities in how we evaluate applications. We look at grades, activities, writing. But I would say that something that distinguishes us a little bit is that we also ask for a graded writing sample from our applicants. So what this means is that generally applicants like from the US will typically submit like an essay they wrote for like a history class or an English class or whatever it might be. Typically with teachers' comments, we used to be stricter on that, but now that most comments are digitized, we understand that sometimes it's harder to convey them over the Common App. So it can also just be an essay that you wrote for a class, an analytical essay, because one of the main elements of a BCB education, I would say, is writing. Like it's a very writing and reading like writing heavy school. Most evaluations are done on the basis of final essays and not exams. So we do want to see what our incoming classes' writing abilities look like. But that being said, that's not the only barometer. And we are also test optional. And we do, of course, look at grades and rigor as well.
Perfect. Our next question is thinking about students choosing their major. How easy is it for a student to start in one major and then if they decide to change their mind or maybe change their field of study, how easy is it for them to switch major or switch majors more than once at your school?
I'll just say that at Concordia, we do tend to be pretty flexible. Students can start in one major and decide to, decide to change or even complete prerequisites they might have been missing in one of their other programs. So it's definitely doable. You do have to declare a major, which I know can sometimes be a little daunting, but it's helpful to know that even within that first year, you can still explore courses in other subject areas. Maybe your major will become a minor to something else that you'll add or just elective credits. So there is some flexibility as long as you meet the requirements to make those transfers.
In England, Wales, and Northern Ireland, in general, it's not so easy to change your program once you're in it. I would say the soonest you know you don't want to be in that program anymore, the better it will be. The courses are all in sequence, so your first year is pretty much planned out for you. You might be able to choose one or two classes in the first year, maybe, but generally it's all quite sequential. This is really crucial for programs that are more creative arts based, like audition or portfolio based, or STEM programs where you might have certain prerequisites to get into them, or audition or portfolio. So it's not always so easy to shift as well. It's much easier if it's to a similar program, so within a department or within a faculty or school.
Yeah, and as I think I mentioned, Scotland is the different system in the UK, that we are 4 years. At St. Andrews, as long as you take a subject in year 1 and 2, you absolutely have to take it in year 1 and 2. You can make it your degree for years 3 and 4. Generally, you have to stay within the social sciences, humanities, or the sciences, but we see a lot of our students doing that overall. So if you're the kind of student who can't quite decide, do I want English or history? I'm not quite sure. The Scottish system can meet your needs pretty well there.
I mentioned this before, so apologies for reiterating it. We are direct entry. So once you're in a program, say you're in business, it's very difficult to switch, with the exception of that liberal arts and sciences program. And the other exception is if you're in the arts and humanities and social sciences, we have something called a joint honors program that has a little more flexibility. But you do want to have a generally pretty good idea of what you want to study coming in.
For UBC, it really truly depends. If you're wanting to switch from major to major under a faculty degree program, it's a little bit easier, aside from engineering. But if you wanted to switch from program to program, from let's say the sciences to the arts, it's a little bit easier just because arts is our largest program, so there's more seats available for students to be able to switch between the programs. But if you were to go from like arts to engineering, it's going to be a lot more difficult just because of the space availability, but also the competitiveness of the program as well. So that part depends, but within the first year, if you kind of figure it out, then it might be a little bit easier to switch between program to program, but again, truly depends.
Yeah, and I would say with BCB, so as you saw, we're pretty small campus. We have pretty small number of degree offerings, and generally when students apply, they select a degree that they want to enter into, but it's by no means binding, and students can also pick undecided if they so choose. So generally, you'll be sort of sorted into the degree track that you choose, if you do choose one, and sorted with an advisor upon entering the college who teaches in that department. But it's generally pretty feasible to switch degrees as long as you do so before moderation, which is the BARD term. It's a BARD Berlin, but also BARD New York term for declaring a major. Basically, it's happens at the end of your second year typically, and it sounds kind of scary on paper, but it's really not. You basically have to defend your major choice to a panel of faculty in what amounts to usually like a 45-minute long interview, um, and also write a few short essays about it. But before that happens, you are not actually like in a major. So you basically have 2 years to decide what you want to do. Generally, there are some, before you moderate into a major, you have to complete a series of like what we call foundational modules, which is a German education term for like begin like 100 to 200 level courses, basically. And there are more of those in the economics and politics and also art degrees than in the humanities track. So your schedule might get a little tight if you try to switch like right before moderation, but generally it's possible within the first 2 years to switch.
Awesome. We have a school-specific question. So one of the schools in our cohort that's part of this program is the St. Anne's School. So someone from the St. Anne's community is asking, considering St. Anne's has no grades, they do anecdotal write-ups. How would your school evaluate their applications? And because they have no grades, is it worth taking APs in lieu of that?
From a Goldsmiths perspective, I actually have a St. Anne's kid on campus, maybe even two. So we will evaluate the narrative transcript. It's just important that we understand that you're taking really rigorous coursework and it's relevant to your subject and you have aptitude for your subject. It's much easier for creative degrees if you're looking at STEM degrees generally in England, it might be a little trickier without the without an AP exam or other kind of exam.
For UBC, we have had students' applications be evaluated for us through St. Anne's, and we're pretty flexible as well. We just really want your school profile, and we'll evaluate it through the process that you guys kind of go through it. We're pretty holistic in that way as well. So as long as you provide all of the documents that we request from the admissions team, we'll be able to easily evaluate it in that way.
I'll echo that on the other side of Canada in Montreal, that we're pretty similar and we have received applications in the past before, so we're happy to look at it on the more narrative level. I will say there can sometimes be, if you are applying for one of our more rigorous like aerospace engineering programs, if that was something that was harder to assess from St. Anne's, there's always opportunity as well to start in another program at Concordia and still complete the same kind of foundational courses of math and physics that the engineering students would take. And to be able to transfer into programs like engineering or computer science or business. So if ever that was something that impacted your admissions, we can always talk about some of the different pathways.
We will take it on a case-by-case basis. If you're looking for something like engineering versus arts and humanities, those do kind of have varying degrees of entry requirements. So reach out to us directly and we'll see kind of if the AP route is best for you or if we can use your SAT, ACT. And yeah, we'll figure out what's best for you.
Our next question has to do. Oh, sorry. Go
Fine.
ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't think I think we've all answered the same way. And my emphasis would be, I think all of us are quite open to students reaching out to us and asking these specific things. We are trying to be as transparent about this process as possible, I think. So we're all willing to have that conversation. I think that's one of the things that can make overseas institutions a little bit different in their approach.
Our next question is regarding financial aid. Can you describe the financial aid process, what financial aid is available for international students from the United States in the forms of financial aid, loans, or other forms of tuition assistance?
I can start. So as I mentioned a little bit in my presentation, BCB has its own financial aid application that's separate from the FAFSA, but all US citizens and also permanent residents do have to fill out the FAFSA to Bard College in order to be considered for BCB financial aid. So what that means is that, so the financial aid application is basically just like a form that students fill out, and then they provide supplemental documentation, sort of similarly to, I believe how the FAFSA works. And then they also submit the FAFSA. And then we have BCB specific scholarships and financial aid in the form of tuition waiver. But then US citizens and permanent residents are also eligible for federal financial aid, so in the form of loans and also Pell Grants. So yes.
We are FAFSA eligible, so you'll apply for FAFSA the same way as you would for US school. You'll just pop in the UCD school code. We accept 529 plans if that's how you're planning to finance your education. We also have international student scholarships, so usually between $2,000 and $6,000 a year. All students are automatically assessed for those when they apply. We also have a Global Excellence Scholarship that is 50 to 100% of your tuition. A little more competitive, but throw your hat in the ring. There's no harm in that. And then with we can't accept Pell Grants because yeah, we're not in the US. So.
Similarly, the England and Wales and Northern Irish schools would mostly accept federal loans. There's a resource on the FAFSA website you can check that will let you know which international schools all around the world will accept US federal loans. And most universities will also provide merit scholarships. Financial need scholarships are much more rare. Some universities might offer them, but it's going to be less common. The other kind of main thing would be the scholarship application is usually done after you get into the university. So it's a little bit backwards from US institutions. So typically you have to wait for an offer of admission before applying to scholarships.
Yeah, I would emphasize overall that a lot of overseas universities may have some merit scholarships, but we're not giving them to 40, 50, 60, 70% of students. In the case of St. Andrews, US students, maybe 5% get a merit scholarship, and that may be in a figure of £5,000 to £10,000 normally. But on the other hand, our tuitions are not in the $80,000, $90,000 range. So I think our tuitions reflect much closer to what the cost actually is. And that means the majority of students are paying exactly what we list as the cost.
Yeah, exactly. Here at Concordia, we're between 25, 30,000 US, but we do have entrance scholarships that are available, same kind of thing that John was saying. And also we do accept the FAFSA federal student loans and 529 plans and that kind of thing, and other direct loans that students might have. Also at Concordia, we do have some small bursaries or grants that students would be eligible for as well. And I'll just mention, Canadian institutions. I know, going to New York a lot, there are sometimes Canadians who are at these schools or French citizens, and there's always different tuition rates for those citizens in Canada or then in Quebec for the French citizens.
Yeah, the Canadians are a lot more generous than the rest of us. Normally, the rest of us require residency and not citizenship. So if you are a dual UK, US citizen, unless you can show residency, you're going to be treated as an international student in almost all cases.
Yes, similar to us as well. We do accept FAFSA and 529 plans. We don't accept Pell Grants, unfortunately, but we also do offer international merit scholarships ranging from 10,000 to 25,000 Canadian dollars. On the other hand, we also offer need-based scholarships, but that one will be separate. And as similar to Sarah's UCDs, it is a little bit harder to receive the need-based scholarship just because it is a little bit more competitive and it can cover up to full tuition as well. But yeah, if you also have Canadian citizenship, whether that's dual or permanent resident or full Canadian citizenship, it is a little bit nicer and more generous, where the domestic tuition rate starts around 6,000 Canadian dollars. So that one looks a little bit nicer for Canadian students.
While we're on the topic of tuition, would each of you be able to give your kind of baseline tuition price or asking tuition for the audience? And if that differs by citizenship, if you could also indicate that as well too, please.
Yeah, so our tuition is the same for all, regardless of nationality. So off-campus tuition is roughly 26,000 euro per year, so amounting to 28 to 29 USD. On campus, it's more like 36,000, so 38, 39 USD.
Our arts and humanities, social sciences, and business degrees are 22,600 euro a year. So with the exchange rate fluctuating, I would say maybe 24 to 25 25,000 US dollars. And then for engineering and architecture, it's closer to 29,000 euro. So about 30, 31,000, 32 sometimes.
Goldsmiths it will depend on the program a lot in the UK, just like in other countries. So if you're doing like engineering or medicine, it's going to be a lot higher. We don't offer that at Goldsmiths, but just as an FYI. And our tuition at Goldsmiths for most programs, you're looking at around 48,000 US dollars all in. So tuition is usually in like the 20 to 22,000 pound range. It can go up for art and design. And then for cost of living in London, you can typically estimate around like £1,600 a month, usually for accommodation and everything else. So that kind of extrapolates to about 48,000 to, at the high end, like 55,000 US dollars per year.
For UBC, I would say the starting for, especially kind of going based off of the arts program, the tuition would be about like 33,000 US dollars. And then for STEM business programs, it's closer to 45,000 US dollars, depending on the program. So total cost of attendance starting would be about like 45,000 US dollars for total. And then for housing in general, it would be about 12,500 US dollars.
And I tried to put mine in the chat, but we are 32,000 pounds a year. Total cost of attendance is estimated at around $55,000 per year for St. Andrews.
Awesome. We have a question asking about clubs and societies and small group theatricals. I imagine this applies to some of you, not all of you. If you're familiar with any of these organizations on your campus, can you talk a little bit about them? And then there's a question specifically for St. Andrews, and I'm guessing your relationship with Edinburgh. The question is Edinburgh the go-to big city for students that attend St. Andrews?
I suppose I can knock out two and start with that. So St. Andrews does not have any performing arts. So all of our degrees, so all of our performing arts groups are done through clubs and societies, be it musical theater, improv, drama, a lot of musical groups, so a lot of opportunities. I usually tell students the advantage to that is if it's a passion that you have, but you don't see it as your career, you're not competing against students who want to make it their careers. Edinburgh is about an hour from St. Andrews, so it is the closest major city. But I think most St. Andrews students find that despite it being a very small town, they find plenty to do in town itself. Anytime you put 10,000 18 to 25-year-olds together, there tends to be a lot going on.
And then if anybody else has any theatrical societies, anything of that nature that you want to touch upon.
Yeah, we have something called DramSoc, which is the Drama Society. If anybody knows the comedy group Foil Arms and Hog, they just finished their US tour. They started in the UCD DramSoc. It's a very theatrical group of students, whether they're studying engineering or theater practice as their degree. You can go from being the one acting on stage, you could be the one directing, writing. We just opened a brand new black box theater, so you could be behind the stage doing the technicals there. And our DramSoc group goes across Europe to compete as well. So if that's something you're interested in, but again, maybe it's not your degree or maybe it is, definitely check that out.
So at Concordia, we do have one of the largest fine arts faculties in Canada, and along with offering a acting for theater major or a scenography major, we do also offer a theater minor. So sometimes that's an interesting option for students who are interested in engaging in that, not making it their full major. I just want to highlight, we do have a lot of different, student associations associated with those that you can get connected with. But we also have something called Arts Matters Festival, which is the largest student-run arts festival in North America, actually. Or we have our student-run our own film festival. So there's a lot of different ways that our students can connect and then also, showcase the work that they're doing, whether it be through theatrical opportunities or other arts as well. I'll just mention we also have minors in like music and also in music and in dance, music and theater as well. Oh, and film studies, yeah.
Perfect.
At Goldsmiths, we are a pretty extensive theater department. So you can join the Drama Musical Theater Society, but also take part in any of our 5 degrees in the department. We have 6 different theaters on campus, so there's a lot of ability to get lost in our costumes workshops or prop workshops. We've been around for about 65 years as a theater department, so among the oldest in London as well.
For UBC, considering that our Vancouver campus is considered kind of like the Hollywood North, we do have quite a few different areas of those focuses as well. Within our fine arts program, we also have just more so within acting or producing film production or within more of the set design areas as a major. But then within our student associations and clubs and organizations, we also have more of like musical theater. So within our acting program, we don't really focus on the musical side of it, but we do have a club for that reason. We also just have more of like a players club where you can kind of focus more within just kind of coming together with students, focusing more within just acting, directing, set design, things like that. And then they'll be able to come together and kind of be able to create their own production as well. So there's a lot of varieties that you can kind of choose and look into as well.
Perfect. We have a question in the chat that's asking if any of your institutions are placing weight on an IB diploma. Do you do conditional acceptances for IB diploma students?
I can go. So we have a lot of applicants who are IB diploma graduates. And if by conditional acceptance you mean like we accept them awaiting the final IB results, yes, like our admissions timeline looks like the American admissions timeline, meaning typically students will submit their applications by January at the latest. So we also understand that final results will not be in yet. And so in that sense, acceptances could be conditional, but we don't place I wouldn't say that we place necessarily weight on IB, like the diploma itself, but we do offer a lot of like merit scholarships for IB graduates. So that's just something I'll put out there.
We do conditional offers, but we'll always take what benefits the student most. So if a combination of your GPA, school ranking, and maybe if you've taken the SAT or ACT, if that ranks you higher than your predicted IB score, we'll take that and you won't need a conditional offer. If your IB score ranks you higher and gives you a better chance for admission, then we'll take that and give you a conditional offer. But the conditional offer will never expect something that we don't think is achievable for you. It's very realistic.
So I think St. Andrews is a bit different here in that we normally will make unconditional offers based on predicted IB scores, which is not all that common in the UK. But in our case, we will make those. And again, those scores we will list on our website about what the entry requirements are.
For UBC, we go through predicted grades, so we'll ask for your predicted grades and kind of go based off of that. And all of our offers are conditional for all programs. But within our IB diploma, once we receive your final grades, we'll kind of evaluate based off of that. So as long as your scores don't fluctuate too much, you should be fine. But within our scoring process, we actually don't accept the 3 bonus points. We go out of 42. So that's another thing to also keep in mind as well.
I'll jump on that Canadian perspective, and same sort of thing. We do have conditional admission offers for all of our curriculums. So not just IB, but it would be, to meet the requirements that are indicated transparently on our program page for the IB. I'll also just say that with the higher levels, we do accept up to 27 credits that can come with you from your degree from the IB program. So that's also beneficial.
For England and Wales and Northern Ireland, we already have 3-year degrees, so we don't accept IB credit. However, we really love IB diploma. It's the best thing you can really use when you're going internationally. It's the most rigorous diploma you can have, so it really sets you up well for success at a lot of universities abroad, because we don't have that 5th year of high school. And at Goldsmiths, we look for a 33 overall with 6, 5, and 5 on 3 HLs. And generally, we look for predicted grades. All students get conditional offers, no matter if it's high school diploma or IB diploma or French bac or whatever it might be.
So we got about 7 minutes left, just so we can be mindful of everyone's time. Next question is, can you give us an idea of if a student receives a degree from your institution, do they typically stay in your country or region after graduating? Do they usually come back to the US if there is an international student? And does your degree allow them any opportunity to work in the respective country that your institution is at for a limited period of time?
Start with this one. I know we're on a time crunch, so I'll double with the admission rate. Varies per program. Can't give you a specific number because of the different entry requirements, and I think a lot of my colleagues will echo that. In terms of staying in country, by doing an undergraduate degree in Ireland, which you don't need a visa for, you get a residence permit, but it's not a visa. You are entitled to a 1-year stay back visa. Don't do what I did. I went to UCD and gave up my stay back visa, and I love working for UCD, but Dublin is the best city. So I always recommend using these stay back permissions. You're eligible to work. There's not a lot of restrictions on hours or pay. And it lets you use that year to set yourself up with a company that may sponsor you in the future. A lot of our students do end up staying in Dublin. It's just a really great city to be in. Like I said, I'm back in the US. I have quite a few friends that are back in the US after studying at UCD, so you can kind of go anywhere in the world. We also have students that are from the US and now live in mainland Europe. We have students in Australia. You can go anywhere.
Yeah, so from my end, and I'll also try to be as brief as possible. So like I mentioned in my introduction, we are dual accredited. We're accredited in the US and Germany, but what that means is that only some of our students qualify for the German diploma. And I'll post the requirements in the chat for US high school and also IB diplomas. But So if you qualify for the German diploma and you graduate with a German degree, you can apply for a job seeking visa for 18 months after graduating. This is what I did when I graduated in 2020. Basically, with the job seeker visa, you can work any kind of job you want, freelance, employed, whatever it is, for 18 months with an aim toward eventually applying for like a permanent job visa or maybe starting studies again in Germany and getting a student visa. If you don't get so if you only get the US diploma, you can still apply for a 6-month job seeking visa, but it's not tied to your diploma. It's just a job seeking visa that you can apply for as just a non-EU resident. I would say that of my US American friends from my cohort, around half of us stayed in Berlin for several years after graduating. Um, with the help of these visa schemes, but also some of us were dual EU and US citizens.
In the UK, you get a 2-year stay-back visa as an undergraduate. It's called the graduate route visa. It's quite open-ended, so you can do any and all forms of work, whether it's self-employed, part-time, full-time, any salary, not even in your field. So it's very open-ended. You apply through it, like for it on an app, literally. So you can get it in like 10 minutes. And it's very straightforward. We also have immigration services that will help you with the process. I would say at Goldsmiths, about half our students will typically take us up the graduate route. Some will already have jobs back home, but some will really lead on our career services. I really encourage all students to seek out career services from year one, term one, not just showing up after graduation being like, hey, give me a job. That's not really how it works.
Yeah, St. Andrews is in the UK for this one, so we do have the exact same policies. St. Andrews is unique because of the number of US students we have. We probably find a majority coming back here, large, very well established alumni networks, opportunities for careers, internships, all of those kind of things, because we're bringing in over 500 US undergraduates every year.
For Canada, you can apply for up to a 3-year postgrad work permit. So if you want to stay after graduation, you're more than welcome to do so. You just have to apply through that application process. For UBC, we've seen a good mix of everything, really. Some students take advantage of staying there for up to 3 years in Canada. You don't necessarily have to stay in the province of the university that you studied at. You can really go across Canada. We've seen some students go back to their home country, but because we have so many alumni across the world, we've also seen some students go and explore a different country as well and either work there or study there as well.
Yep, same with Canada. The 3-year work authorization after you graduate is a great opportunity to take advantage of the networks and connections that you've made through Concordia's programs. I'll also just highlight that you can also work during your studies as well as a student on campus or off campus in Canada as well, and full-time in the summer.
That rule also applies to Germany.
Same in Ireland.
Awesome. And final question I will ask that you can impart on all of our school communities is, what is your favorite aspect of the institution you work for, maybe a favorite tradition, and then one piece of advice you would have for our families navigating international admissions and applying to international universities?
I think favorite tradition, this is kind of ridiculous, but we have something called Ag Week. Agriculture is really big in Ireland, farming, and that culture is really important at UCD as well. And there is a milk drinking contest in the middle of a sunny day. I'm sure you can imagine how that ends, but it's just a really nice way to bring the student body together and get everyone kind of excited about something. And especially because it's closer to exams, so it's a really good time for that. And then a piece of advice is don't be afraid to do something that's out of the norm. When I applied to UCD, my college counselor was like, where? People still ask me like, what was your home US university? It just wasn't really understood at the time. Luckily for you guys, going abroad or international is more known now, but even if your friends aren't doing it, just try it. If you hate it, you can transfer, but you might just love it more than you ever expected.
I can go. Given that we're 600 years old, we've got a couple of traditions. Probably my favorite, academic families. The students create their own families with third years as parents. First years will be adopted by a third year. You may be adopted based on what you're studying, where you live. Somebody will come up to you in line at the coffee shop and say, "Are you adopted?" Not asking how you grew up, wanting to know if you have your family yet. So that's by far my favorite one, just because I think families, parents, and older siblings can be just like they are in real life, a real great resource to find out how things work. What do I do if something happens? I think the most important thing about the selection process and the university search process is comparisons can ruin your joy. Don't worry about what others and who others are being accepted to, when they're hearing and what they're hearing. It's about your own process, what you find rewarding, and where you fit best.
So Goldsmiths is entering my favorite season right now, which is degree show season. So we have all of our students who will be presenting their final projects from all of our arts programs. So we have our music festival, Pure Gold. So you can hear possibly, the next big star. Maybe, maybe not. And you also have the ability to kind of see all of our designers and what they've designed over the years, all of our fine artists and what they do, performance artists. We have our theater festival. So it's kind of my favorite time of year. All of campus comes together and really enjoys the fruits of our creative labors. And even if you're not a student in the arts, if you're a law or psychology student, you can still kind of take advantage of all the kind of creative energy on campus. And you never know what you might find. 2 years ago, there was just a pile of, I think it was like 2 tons of carrots on one of our lawns to kind of protest how much feed goes towards the beef industry and the cattle industry in the UK. So yeah, truly, you never know what you might see on our campus. And I would say my biggest piece of advice would be for maybe like the younger students in the audience, 9th and 10th graders. It's great you're doing the research, and especially if you're aiming at a really sort of rigorous university, it's important to kind of get started early for international schools. However, it's really important to enjoy high school. It's only 4 years; it goes by really quickly. So don't set your sights so far ahead to college that you lose sight of what's happening right now in high school.
I'll go next. I mentioned our Arts Matters Festival, which I really love, which happens in March, but and an opportunity for students to do all the curating and performances for that. But what I'll also mention that I really love, of course, I mean, in this kind of role and at the university, I'm lucky enough to get really excited about the first couple of weeks of school, Frosh Week, the orientation programs that we have, the community events, the city tours that we have going on, the welcome crew mentors that are there to support the students. It's really just an exciting time that when students are moving in and being able to support that. I'd say that's my favorite time. And I get to see some of the students that I've worked with and connected and supported. So I love that part. My advice for students would really be to, try to visit the campuses that you're going to be looking at, really assess it for yourself as far as like, I think universities, we talk a lot about the vibe that feels right for you. What feels right for you might not be for one of your friends or a sibling or something. So it's really important to just go and experience, see what students are doing, talk to the students around there, see if you can talk to a faculty member, just to really understand what is going to be the best fit for you. I think that's what's most key in this process.
Yeah, I would say that one of my favorite traditions as a student was kind of similar to what some others have said, was Open Studios, which was an end of semester event where all of the art students, like the students currently in art courses, would present their work in the factory, which is the name of our arts building, which is called that because it used to be a tire factory, I believe, and then was a cannery at some point, and now it's our arts building. And that's really fun because it's like all the, small but like very tightly knit community coming together at the end of the semester to support peers and also to see, beautiful artworks. with some, refreshments, and it's generally just a really, really nice time. And yeah, I mean, I feel like I can't offer better advice than what my colleagues have already said. But I would, yeah, I think I would reiterate that in a way it's like with admissions, it's about sort of assessing, it's like a two-way street in a way. It's about assessing fit from both the institutional side, but also the student side. And so I would just reiterate that, not necessarily go with your gut, but like if something feels right, then I think that's how I decided, and I don't regret my decision at all. So yeah.
For UBCs, my favorite tradition I like to talk about is just like mentioning about the area that we are in. People think that Canada is just way too cold, so they don't want to go there. But within our UBC area, it's really not as cold as you think it is. But the one tradition that we always have because of that is our snowball fight, our annual snowball fight, where when we do get snow, which isn't much, but when we do, everyone comes together in one location, and it's basically just a regular old snowball fight just for fun. But I think it's just a fun way for people to come together where some people have never seen snow in their life. And so it's a pure fulfillment and joy that I have been able to kind of see videos through, but I've heard also great fun things about it as well. But my piece of advice I would say is probably to not let the distance hold you back. All of the locations, all the universities represented today, and as well as just universities abroad, it is going to be far, but then at the same time, you're not going to be alone either. And so if you are having that inkling of wanting to kind of go far away, but also don't want to be alone, there are going to be a lot of students coming from all different parts of the world who have never even visited their campus before. So definitely don't let that hold you back for sure.
Awesome. And that is all we have for today. So, on behalf of all of our schools, we want to thank you so, so much to all the panelists that took time out of their very busy schedules. They were traveling. Some of them were actually just here at the Brooklyn College Fair that we just had. So I know time is very precious to all of you right now. We want to thank you all for taking the time to come and join all of us and share your knowledge and expertise about your schools and international admissions with our communities. And for all the attendees, thank you so much for coming tonight. I know some of you may be in the thick of the process, some of you may be early on in the process, but it's great to see you all here and engaged and wanting to learn more about admissions in general, but specifically international admissions. So, on behalf of all of our college offices, we want to say thank you, and we hope you all have a wonderful night.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for coming.
So much.
Thank you. Thanks so much for this opportunity. Have a good evening.